So I founded Zipcar in 2000, and there's lots of different ways to think and talk about what was it that we accomplished now that we're 13 years hence. And today, the way I'm going to shape it for you so it goes down the path I want to go, is what Zipcar managed to do was we made renting a car as convenient as owning a car. We right-sized the asset. So if you think before, in the olden days, you either had to own a car, you had to buy this big giant car, which you would only use 5% of the time, and 95% of the time it would just sit there. And particularly for people in cities who don't need cars to get to work every day, it's sitting there. Or you had the choice of renting a car with this 24-hour bundle. And in fact, we know that we don't drive that way. We don't drive in 24-hour clumps. So Zipcar, we can think of it as right-sizing what was going on. But I think today, what was more interesting that what we did is that we pushed things that way people used to interact with car rental before we had consumers and suppliers, right? And we all are called consumers. And today, we all know that that idea of consumers is a wrong word. We need to have new words. We are no longer consumers. And Zipcar was a very early person to transform consumers into what I think of as co-collaborators, co-creators. And maybe I would call them market collaborators, because without them, we couldn't have done what we wanted to do. So members could do things that were cheaper and easier for us. So if you think of car rental, there's the person that walks around the car. With Zipcar, we would have members who walked around the car to see if it was okay. It was members who would put in gas. It's members who say there's something wrong. So we were able to exploit because we trusted and believed that most people are good and that we could count on them. So we really created this bond with our customers. And as I said, I thought of them as co-creators. They helped create the company, and they were part of the whole process. We can look at these companies we've been talking about for the last 10 years, and I kind of see them in very much the same way. All of them are using us as market collaborators, market creators of the service or product that they're doing. And I look at it further, and I think, you know what's really going on here is that this was excess capacity plus a platform for participation. And when we open up excess capacity, what we're doing is we're actually sharing. So, you know, Skype is my favorite quick, you know, imagine building a telecommunications company in a number of years without having to build anything physical yourself. So it's all based on my laptop, my connection, and my video camera, and you build a telecommunications company. So let's talk a little bit more about sharing, and I want you guys to think about bed sharing. Got that bed sharing in your minds? Bed sharing? The kind of bed sharing I'm thinking about is when I go to a city, I travel a lot, and my favorite way of bed sharing is actually sleeping in someone's excess capacity of their spare guest bedroom. And it could be looking like this, and I would be pretty happy with that. And I could be extra lucky, and I could get a double bed, and that happens sometimes. And I could be kind of unlucky, and I'd end up having the teenager's room where they kicked out the teenager, and there I was. And if we think about bed sharing, hotels are actually bed sharing. And very much like Zipcar, the idea is you have to get a return on that asset on a 7-day week. You've got to make sure that people are sleeping in it enough nights to make it worthwhile. And if we think about building hotels, I went to look and see what are the largest hotels in the world. And the Intercontinental Hotel is the largest. And after 60 years, 645,000 rooms in 100 countries. And I just want to pause for a minute. You guys know where I'm going. But just pause and think, Hilton did this for 93 years and didn't get as big. Just think of the level of effort it went to build, to be the biggest after 60 years, to build this number of hotels. You know, you have to think of where do I want to have it. You have to go find the site. You have to get the architect. You have to do the background research. You have to get it financed. You have to build it. Then you have to go market. You have to have people come stay. You might have chosen wrong. There might have been a hurricane. This huge, huge, huge effort to deliver what we see here. And since this is a PDF audience, you know what I'm going to say next. The largest bed sharing in the world right now is Airbnb. So of course, I'm putting my excess capacity of my bedroom or my house, and in their 4th year, 650,000 rooms in 192 countries. Amazing! Are you guys thinking, like, amazing? This is a game changer. Think of all these hotel guys quaking in their boots, as well they should. I mean, this is really phenomenal. And Couch surfing, I still love them. In their 8th year, 1.5 million beds in 200 countries. I mean, it is really, really remarkable what's going on. And we have been talking about this story for a while. But I'm thinking, what is really going on? I want to look a little bit deeper. We say, we're pretending like we know what's going on. And I think what's actually going on is people are doing what they do best. If we think of industrialization, what do industrial economies do best? What do big things do best? And when I think of this side of industrial strength, I also want to include, big institutions and governments. Guys are doing things a big way. What do? What are they good at? Doing large investments over multiple years, things that require lots of kinds of intelligence, many, many types of expertise. They do things that are standardized and commoditized, and particularly, these standard contracts. And they put it all together in kind of brand promise. We have ideas what Hiltons are like or what Sheraton hotels are like, and they're global. And then we can flip to the other side. What do individuals do best? Individuals do very small, localized, customized, unique stuff. I can access my own social networks because they're people that I know. And I do very, very fine and detailed things around my own specific expertise and my own friend network. And of course, I'm local. When we put these two things together, we find that there's this real matching going on that we never could do before. And when I look at this matching, I'm really thinking of this is Peers Incorporated. And I want you guys to think broadly. I'm saying Peers Incorporated because it makes a nice match of words, but the peers can be individuals, or they can be local small NGOs, and the incorporated side can be institutions and governments. But it is this match of each side doing what they do best, and a kind of value sharing between the two sides. If the incorporated side tries to take too much stuff, well, then the peers aren't going to participate. And if the peers won't leave enough on the table for the incorporated side to do their stuff, the companies won't be building the platforms. So there's this very, very careful sharing of values between the two. What's really interesting to me is the incorporated side ends up building this platform for participation. And the peers deliver an incredible diversity of offering. And I'll talk about these two in just a minute. So platforms for participation, what's going on is what you get is these amazing economies of scale. That's what platforms do. Platforms deliver really efficient use of money. And they deliver high growth and they deliver scale. That's what platformness does. And if we look at these great curves, Airbnb, I feel like I have to keep updating whenever I give this talk because they continue to fly up that curve. BlaBlaCar, which is ride sharing, that's really taking off in Europe. This is the second largest company in the world. And here we are in 2012. Look at the number of passengers. They are transporting as many as, per month, as many as 2,500 high-speed trains per month without laying a track or buying any rail cars. So again, excess capacity. Fiverr, do you guys know about Fiverr? So Fiverr.com, what would I do for $5? And they have this amazing, amazing growth curve going up. And if you're ever bored, go look and buy one for a friend. It's really, really funny. Etsy, homegrown here, who had 80% growth last year. Again, this amazing Peers Incorporated model going on. Topcoder, large design and engineering firm, 400,000 engineers, and look at their growth rate. So these companies really, really scale. This I just threw in quickly. I really love the idea of, think of smartphones as excess capacity, and we were able to get this amazing amount of innovation because the tens of hundreds of thousands of people who are participating in building platforms on them. So let's look at the peers side. What are the peers doing? They're offering, through their diversity, what does diversity offer? Diversity delivers innovation and creativity. If we think about Airbnb, or let's say YouTube, the creativity that comes out of YouTube is just phenomenal. We know if you go to old TV and old media, it was boring compared to the amazing, amazing things that some people are managing to pull off on YouTube. And it offers its incredible resilience and redundancy because there's now no one thing that's too big to fail. So I look at this matching here and I see that we're able to have like the speed of individual action, the speed of collective action while preserving the creativity of individuals that deliver this amazing innovation. I'm going to change gears briefly here. Oh, nope. Here is showing the diversity of BuzzCar. These are drivers and their owners, and they are, as you can see, a diverse crowd. cool and not so cool, and proud. So Buzzcar, after 2 years, has 5,000 cars and 15,000 members. Here I talked about smartphones and how we're having this amazing innovation, and think of the diversity of applications on top. Now I'm going to change gears for just a minute. The World Bank produced a report in October. And this report is called 4 Degrees, Turn Down the Heat. And what is 4 degrees? 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 4 degrees Celsius, which is 7 degrees Fahrenheit for those of us in America, is the average global warming that we will have by 2100 if all the countries do all the promises they ever said they're going to do around climate change. And the question is, what does 7 degrees Fahrenheit look like? And let's put that into context. If I put it into context, the last ice age was minus 7 degrees from where we are today. And then we were under several kilometers of ice, right where we're standing here in Europe, in North America. So that's what minus 7 degrees was like, and we're going forward 7 degrees, not over thousands of years, in the next 90. Gets a little bit worse. What I had never realized till I read this report was that 7 degrees on average globally is hotter over the land. So when we're talking about this, that's plus 11 degrees Fahrenheit between now and 2100. And we didn't like just having 4 degrees is bad, and 7 degrees is bad, and 10 degrees is bad. So if we're talking about 2100, you're going to have to slide back down that curve and think how soon it's a temperature that you don't like. And if we don't meet the goals, these pathetic goals that we have today, we're doing that by the 2060s. So for me, right now, over the last 2 months or so, while I've always been a climate realist, I've now become a person who's thinking into the end game. And just think about your lives if you have 40 years left until we're burning into this hell of plus 11 degrees summers in this country. So my friend Bani Banerjee at Stanford, he had this nice sentence that I borrowed. You can't solve exponential problems with linear solutions. Indeed. And this is why I just talked to you about this Peers Incorporated model. For me, this Peers Incorporated model is my moment of optimism. And why? Because just as we said, what do we need for this next 40 years? What do we need to get going? We need to build some platforms that can scale really fast. We need to be able to get that incredible diversity of energy and action and minds who can address very, very specific local problems very quickly. Platforms can take complex items and make them really simple, and people can snap in and deliver. And this is what you guys need to start thinking about very, very seriously. So transportation, I think, is my personal major center of my universe. Everything that you're doing, you can't, eat, you can't educate yourself, you can't have work without having transportation. So I've been working on transportation problems, but clearly there are problems abound, and diversity is a fabulous thing. So I'm asking you guys, let's go, we can do it. And please tweet me if you want to help. It's climbing off the edge there, but I want to help. It's #LegacyClimate. Obama, over the next 4 weeks, is preparing what his next second-term climate action is going to be. And I'm trying to work very hard, and this group is the exact right experts, and I am not one, of how we can support his thinking and push him to go farther and faster. But it is time for us to stop being complacent around this issue of climate change, that we really, really have gone way beyond the nightmare scenario. And I'm hoping to live another 40 years, and I have children for whom 40 years is nothing. And I'll leave it at that. So, thank you. Bye.